This is the Snodgrass podcast. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the podcast. I got a very special guest for you guys today. Before I introduce them, go over to the Snodgrass channel on YouTube and subscribe. You are not going to run and regret it because I got new videos and podcasts coming out every single week, guys. We're talking about entrepreneurship, freedom, not just any freedom, true freedom. And today we're talking about family with Jim and Jamie Sheils. Who are Jim and Jamie Shiels? Well, they are successful entrepreneurs. Jim owns a very successful real estate business where they've done millions of dollars in transactions, but they have also started an organization called 18 Summers where they're connecting entrepreneurs with their families. I've seen such a disconnect when entrepreneurs come to their families. How can they connect more with their spouses? How can they connect more with their kids? Well, they've written a book about it, the family board meeting. They put on events called 18 Summers. Check them out at 18summers.com. I'm going to introduce you to this lovely couple, Jim and Jamie Shiels. Let's do it.
Brett, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a little bit, but man, I'm just really excited to have you guys on the show. I look up to you guys, your family, your business, awesome. And we just got back from Guatemala together a few months ago, and love just getting to know you guys more. So thanks for being on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Likewise. Thanks for having us.
Yes, definitely. Well, today, guys, we're going to be talking a little bit about business, but a lot about family, because you guys, when I think about family, you guys have a blended family. Well, sort of. We'll get into that a little bit more. But you guys started an organization called 18 Summers, which really resonated with me because you only have 18 summers with your kids, and you want to make the most of that. What does that even mean? You wrote a book, The Family Board Meeting. We're going to dive into that. What does that mean? Before we get into all that, I love asking a super deep question to start off the show. And I'm actually going to ask Jamie. I want to ask you about Jim. So Jamie, who is Jim Shiels?
The first thing that comes to mind, I don't know if you hear that, like when you think about who you are, it's like, yes, he's a father and a son and a brother, but who is he beyond that? So he's an educator, he's a philanthropist, he's, okay, well, who is he beyond that? Okay, well, he's got a beautiful heart and a crazy mind that does really incredible things, but forgets other things. He's an incredible athlete, but what comes from his athleticism is his goal to be athletic with his children and his family for 134 years or whatever he placed down. So who Jim is a super hardworking, good person from the inside out.
I love that. Yeah, and I was just thinking about just your heart, Jim. I love everything that you do. I heard you in our mastermind, the Collective Genius, talking about 18 Summers, talking about your kids, taking in kids, having your own kids. You guys are talking about possibly expanding more kids and just your surfing abilities with your kids and just that family dynamic. So that's awesome. Thanks, Jamie, for talking about Jim. Now, let's move to Jim. So Jim, who is Jamie Shiels?
Jamie is the Pied Piper of children and animals. That is, our house is always packed with extra animals and extra kids. So all the teens feel comfortable coming here and hanging out and talking. And they've all said, oh, we love our Miss Jamie talks. Now, in all honesty, there was one time we gave a talk. We talked about this, and this lady came up who had a little bit to drink. She said, yeah, they do that because she's hot, which was pretty funny.
That is funny.
I was like, oh, maybe so. I guess she's just really good with animals and kids and big-hearted and is very much about celebrations and volunteer work, and incredible leader in education. Like, she taught me so much about alternative education in Waldorf and Montessori and childhood development. And she's just a really loving and honorable friend. So that's her.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I just, like I said, guys, I got back from Guatemala. One thing about Jamie that I remember about you was you really get down to the kids' level, which I love, right? You get down to their level and you really just meet them where they're at. And I just saw that. So I definitely agree. From the little bit that I've known you, I've just seen you do that with children. So thank you guys again for just talking about each other. I always like to start off the show that way. Most of the time I ask about who yourself is, but I thought it'd be interesting to ask, versus husband and wife. So let's just, before we get into talk about 18 Summers, I want you guys to kind of share your story a little bit. And I think that's where your journey, I think, started, right? So Jamie, I'll just ask you, how did you guys meet? Don't leave out any of the juicy stuff. We want to hear the juicy stuff. So let's just start there.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's great. So I'm laughing because the look on he's always like, ooh, what's she going to say?
No, I'm not.
So, how we met, it was my birthday, and I was at what you call brew pub, right? It was kind of like a restaurant bar / thing, but the general population was twice my age easily. And so it was a very safe place for me to be. I was a single mom raising 2 boys and building a public charter Waldorf school in Florida, and was really focused on doing those 2 things well, and not really interested in being out at a bar where people could pick me up. So I was there with my mom and my friends and all of my mom's friends, like I said, people twice my age. And this handsome fellow was across the room, and my friend and I were trying to take a picture. And that was back when the phones didn't, you couldn't turn around the cameras.
Lucky for me.
Yeah, he had the flip phone.
And so he came up and he was like, oh, do you need help taking your picture? And now it's hilarious because Jim doesn't even know how to work the remote. And so it's very funny that that was his pickup was that. But anyway, super quick in that moment, because I'm awkward, introduced him to my entire family. And then an old childhood friend walks by, and I take the time. I literally, we're talking 3 minutes door to door, but I introduced him to everybody I knew within a 10-foot vicinity. And then he told me straight away, really deeply, not when I asked him what he did for I don't know, I guess maybe we exchanged oh, what do you do? I'm a teacher or whatever. Instead of telling me about real estate, he told me about the one thing that he never told anyone else about before. And it was this family education that he had in his heart, but that he wasn't doing things with. And so that in hindsight, he was like, that was so weird that that night I told you, I did this thing that I didn't even do, but it was in my heart. And so, and that's amazingly, how interesting is that now that you know us? But fast forward, we spoke every day after that. And I knew very quickly that Jim was just going to totally and completely change my world. And he did. And he fell in love with not just me, but our boys at the same time. And that's a huge job. It's big enough when you fall in love with one person, much less 3 people all at the same time. So, yeah. And then.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Jim, that's, do you have any other details to share with that? And why did you come up and ask to take the picture?
Well, like that lady said at the event, she was hot. She was very sweet. She was very beautiful. She was very sweet. Or I could tell. She seemed comfortably awkward, where she didn't really want to be out. And you could tell, there's some people that are oh, they've been out at the bars quite a bit. And she just, I don't know, there was just a little bit of sweetness and innocence and kindness. I just went up, and plus, she's very beautiful. So yeah, I just wanted to go up and talk to her. Yeah. And I had never been in that place before.
That's what they all say, Jim, because she said that everybody was twice, divided by 2 of their age. So you're in there too, Jim.
No, I wasn't cougar hunting, so it was. So I'd never been in. I went in that night, butt sober, and saw her, and that was the end.
That's awesome. Well, you guys are you guys are a match made in heaven, and again, and then you were talking about the family education business, which you weren't even doing yet, and here you are, how many years later, doing 18 Summers, written a book about it. doing events, and obviously it was in Jamie's heart too, I believe, right? Doing family, and that's what you were all about at that time, family and education, mix them together. So let's talk about that. So, Jim, I know that you have an amazing business, right? You were already doing real estate. You do millions of transactions, guys, very successful entrepreneur. But I think your passion really lies into 18 Summers and really getting entrepreneurs to connect with their families, because you've seen people don't, right?
Yeah. Well, there is a definitely, I mean, you've seen it too at our circles we run in. You can be really successful on the balance sheet and a complete failure at home. And what I saw is there was tons of ways out there for us entrepreneurs to get guidance on to build our business. But there wasn't a lot of guidance on how entrepreneurs can be successful at home. And we're our own breed, entrepreneurs, professionals, we think a little different. We're a little different. And so I wanted to say, how do we put together some simple rhythms and systems so that people don't have to fail at home? And I was my own test product, because holy cow, I went from, coming out of 2008 where I almost went completely bankrupt, to scraping the grounds and pulling the engine up just in time. And then I come into this instant family, all of a sudden it's this. And so I'm running, huge real estate business, instant family. 2 young boys have just asked me to adopt them. I didn't want to mess that up, Brett. So I needed this. That's why we really went into it. And I think it all started very grassroots. Like when I met Jamie, I'd already had these plans. I'm going to start doing masterminds for entrepreneur families. No one's doing that.
He has journals of all these ideas.
Things. Yeah. And so we started to do that very grassroots. We'd start inviting real estate investors and other entrepreneurs I was in groups with, saying, hey, we're going to do a family retreat. Do you want to come? And so it started very small, but it got a pretty big reaction. And we still hear from those people, from 10 years ago. To watch some of these kids who are at 14 and now they're 24, and they say some of the things we went over, because these retreats were just about how do we deepen the relationship and teach the lessons not taught in school. That was our whole goal. Those are the 2 things, but do it in a fun way. And it really, it took. And so then it just started to lead into the book, and then talks and workshops and more retreats. And here we are with you.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And Jamie, I think when we were on Guatemala, you mentioned that this is like your baby. This is your passion to teach entrepreneurs about how to connect with their families. You guys do it in such an amazing way. So take us back, like Jim came into your life. You have these 2 boys. I mean, what was that dynamic like? And was it awkward at first? Was it 3 years into it that you started to figure things out? What was that like?
It was really interesting because, part of our story is that Jim had this list that he wrote out after feeling discouraged one day, a day date or something. That's how he tells it. He came home and he wrote this whole list of the one and what she is. And it had everything on there from like my hair to that I'm good at like Delta mileage points, that I'll go camping, but also put on heels. I mean, it was like this entire sheet of all of these things. And 2 things that Jim had rules, but didn't put on a sheet was no kids and no tattoos. And so you have to be careful what, you have to know exactly what you're looking for, because he got absolutely everything he put on that sheet, and he got things that he didn't put on that sheet also. So
it's the 80-20 rule. He did that. He got the 80% right. So
but what was really great is that he reflects to me, like, keep an open mind. He kept telling himself that. And what was amazing is that he was the one that was very interested in the boys. Like, okay, what does this look like? And I was a bit guarded, with sharing these boys that the 3 of us had been through some really traumatic experiences together. And so I was a bit guarded, and Jim was very open and honest in his curiosity of like, what does this look like? And so we kept making a plan for a date, and then I'd cancel, and then we'd make a plan. I'd be like, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And the first time we did do it, our first date, which we called Gym dates, went really, really well. So much so that the boys were like, can he stay longer? And that was, just a couple weeks in. And what was really beautiful about it is that I always tell people, I think the boys it so naturally evolved because they never knew, like when Jim would show up, they were just as equally convinced that Jim was there to see them as he was to see me. Like they didn't know, is he coming to play with us? Is he coming to play,
Right.
And so that was really incredible. And so he sought their heart quickly on, like not for his own benefit, but to really know and understand. And he has a lot of fun with them. And it's just so amazing and beautiful that, I think not all stories go that way, but I do know that Jim was incredibly vulnerable and humble, and has just been an incredible safety, and has just always been that person. And there were lots of awkward moments, but it doesn't lie in their awkwardness together. It lies in me being awkward, like our 6-year-old. Like,
so the first one to say I love you was Leland at 6, who you know, Leland.
Yeah.
So right in front of Jamie's like, God, Jim, I love you.
He jumps out of the
Jamie
car. Jamie
looked like she was about to throw up. It was hilarious.
Super scared. That's which is amazing, and that just speaks a lot about you, Jim. About it was a package deal, It wasn't like you were trying to take her away, because sometimes kids get that, right? Because the guy maybe is, and they were the package deal.
Yeah, no. I knew it had to be all or nothing.
Yeah.
And they wanted that. They wanted that, and I never asked for it. I just showed up. I got baited a few times where Leland would start calling me dad instead of Jim early. And Alden was a little more reserved, and for good reason. And he would say, I remember him saying, "Did you hear what he said? He called you dad. What do you think of that, Jim?" And I'd say, "You guys call me whatever you want. I'll love you just the same." And from there, it just got dropped of that pressure. Because I think people put pressure especially on that. I didn't want any of that. And plus, what we learned from foster care, sometimes the word dad can have a really bad attachment to it.
Yeah.
Like that's not always a sweet, loving word. That can be a pretty not so sweet and loving word. So we just never forced. And the less we forced and the more we had fun together and just adventures, it just kind of meshed. We always say we are the luckiest blended family ever.
No.
And because it hasn't skipped a beat. We have full autonomy, thanks to Jamie standing up for herself years ago and doing that. And we always gave a choice, and the boys chose not to, because you don't ever want to create forbidden fruit or anything like that. But we just feel so lucky and blessed. And you've seen the gangs you've spent days with them now.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to talk about, you mentioned the word pressure. And I feel like entrepreneurs, we already have a lot of pressure on business things. And I don't see a lot of entrepreneurs bring their families around. And I see you guys do that. And I've met your family, I've hung out with your family, and you guys aren't afraid to really just hang out as a family. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they feel a lot of pressure because their family is not perfect, and they put on the perfect front, right? And that would mess up their image, I guess. And but I found when I hung out with you guys, that was one thing I really did notice. You guys didn't ever put pressure on your kids to act and to be a certain way. So speak about that. Like, how important is that in the family dynamic to not put pressure on your kids?
That's such a great question. So I think that for us, we really encourage our children to do what is for them, right? Because if we are making the decisions for them, then we have to carry the decisions we made for them, if that makes sense. So for example, Alden is almost 18, and he has always loved fishing, and he's never been interested in college. And so we've never pushed him into college. We've never pushed him into a profession he's not interested in. We've never, and we've always said, okay, he's interested in fishing, so let's do more in what he's interested in. And so, our good buddy told us, find out what they're interested in, dump gasoline on it, and light a match, and just let him go. And now Alden will be 18 in 2 weeks, and he's going to have his captain's license about 2 weeks after he turns 18, which is a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
And he already has a charter boat waiting for him. A local owner who has 3 boats has captained Alden to one of them. And I mean, you're talking incredible things that like grown-ups don't even get to do. And it's because, pressure between, parental pressure, societal pressure to be what other people want you to be, or how other people view something to look or operate. And it doesn't have to be that way. I think that the greatest gift we can give our children is to encourage them and to not, like you said, no pressure, encouragement, boundaries and expectations, responsibilities. It's different than saying, oh, you're not responsible for everything and I'll foot the bill.
Mm-hmm.
No, around our home, it's a very much team mentality, boundaries, expectations, and responsibilities, but no pressure.
I love that. Yeah. I love that you just said, what you quoted was find out what they're interested in, put some gasoline on it, light a match. I think as parents, we always want, for some reason, we have this desire for our kids to take our road. For example, my daughter's 14. We've talked about colleges a little bit here and there, and she just went to her freshman year. And, my desire was like, you should go to the college that I went to. And then my wife's like, you should go to my college. And then same thing with her mom, it's just really interesting that, but again, it's like find out what they're interested in, which that transitions me into the family board meeting, which is a book, guys. I've read it. It's awesome. It really talks about one of the key elements of 18 Summers, having the family board meeting. Let's talk about that a little bit. So Jim, why don't you take that? Who came up with the idea? What is it?
Yeah, when I first started to get to know the boys, I wanted to make sure I was there. I had a lot of moving parts, I'm ADD, hyper-focused entrepreneur, so I can get hard in one direction and then all of a sudden go, oh man, I forgot about this over here. So wanting to get to know the boys and be present, the first Christmas together, I made these quality time coupons. And I said, look, here's 4 of these. They open up, they said, what's this? I said, you're going to cash one of these in every quarter. And they said, what's a quarter? So I explained it's every 3 months. And it's going to be a gym day. This is before they were calling me dad. I said, it's just going to be us. I'm going to turn my phone off. It's going to be one-on-one, just you and I, none of our friends, no one else, not mom, just you and I. You plan the day, I go all in. That's it. Mm. And the hope was maybe there'd be some time to talk. And they bought in right away. You want to give kids, ownership of planning, man, they are all in, especially at that age. They were just over 5. Well, they were 5 and 7. Around 5 and 7, 6 and 8. And in those days, one day a quarter, one-on-one, without my phone, and just a fun activity of their choice with some time to talk at the end. That was it. And those days just were pillars in building our relationship. It changed everything. Jamie would call it a reset button. Every time we'd come back stronger. The boys got to open up with me of some really difficult stuff. And we got to have so much fun. Like I just look back on those days. These little kids, now they're like huge, 3 inches older than me. And so that was it. It was just a simple rhythm that I was able to keep every quarter, a decade later. And then we started to share it at real estate groups and saying, look, get with your kids one-on-one without your phone or their phone, doing a fun day of that they plan every quarter. And it's simple, it's effective, and it works. So it created a book, and I guess, crazy as it sounds, a movement now of quality time for entrepreneurs and their children that stays consistent and seems to keep, having great results.
Yeah. No, that's really, really cool. And I've started to implement the family board meeting, guys, and it's just a simple, right? There's nothing fancy, complicated about it. It's very simple quality time, which you put in your book. You put the time versus quality time. So Jamie, why don't you talk about that? Like a lot of entrepreneurs say, well, I've spent time with my kids, but you emphasize quality time.
Yeah. So the difference between like the wasting time or the trash time, I think Seinfeld calls it the trash time or something like that. Essentially it's just, schlepping from here to there. If your kid's in the back seat and on their phone and you're listening to a podcast they're not interested in, that's not really time. Or if it's when you're scolding them about grades or some lesson you're wanting to impart, that's not time. If it's when you just happen to be in the same vicinity but doing your own thing, that's not time. Time is really when you are focused with each other, when you're listening, when you're attentive, when you're actively participating with one another. So there's a big difference between just spending time and quality time. And I think, Jim and I do a date night a week. And to be able to have that quality time when I know I have his full attention, it totally changes our relationship every single week. I swear every single week I'm like, God, I like this guy.
That's good.
And, it's so great. And I know that the same thing happens with our children when we're looking them in their eyes, when we're telling, like by giving them that attention, it tells them they're valid, their opinion matters, and that whatever they're doing is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Because they are receiving our attention. And now we also, my biggest thing is, you can't do everything all the time. So you can't, people have to work, people have to do household things, but just the time in which you do have, it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes a day that you're intentional or if it's 5 hours a day, whatever time you do have, just make it intentional.
No, I like that. That's cool. All right. So you also talk about the 3 steps of connection in your book. And so talk about that. What are the 3 steps to connection?
Yeah, I kind of alluded it on. I came across it by accident, and some that was advice from father mentors of mine. And the three connection points are really one-on-one time. If no one does anything else but this one thing from this podcast, get one-on-one with your spouse, with each of your children. You got to separate the parts to strengthen the whole. One-on-one time is absolutely potent and effective for deepening relationships, but it rarely happens because we're so busy. You've heard me joke before, Brett. Like, I came from an Irish Catholic family, which means I have like 7,000 cousins. And those family gatherings are great. But the deepest moments, the real bonding, the fastening of our relationship has come through one-on-one time, whether it's with me and Jamie or each one of my children. So get one-on-one. The second thing is that without electronics, we now call it intermittent tech fasting. So, you're a healthy guy. You've heard of intermittent fasting, right? We're not giving up eating, but we're only going to be very intentional when we eat between this time and this time, right? And what does that do? Organ rejuvenation, weight maintenance, muscle building, all sorts of benefits they're saying for intermittent fasting right now. So intermittent tech fasting is the same way. I'm not telling you to give up technology or your kids, but there have to be certain times when you and your children are completely and totally unavailable for each other. And so you're not taking away technology, but you're putting it in place. And at certain times, you're just going to fast on it. You're not going to use it. And when I'm one-on-one with my children and my wife, my phone is not invited. I used to do that, Brett. It didn't go so well. It's one of the most insulting things to take a text or a thing when you're on a date or your kids have planned this day, and all of a sudden you get dragged into a work, real estate deal. Like it's very unkind.
Yeah.
There's no other word. So that's hard to say, but it's true. And the third step is, us being kind of off the beaten path educators. I have not found anything more effective when it comes to learning than experiential education. When you put your students in direct, inspiring experiences, and then at the end, afterwards, you talk about it, helps instill values, clarify goals. It's incredible. And it's been around forever, but it's tougher to do. So that's what the third step is. All we've done to strengthen a relationship is use experiential education. We did it with you in Guatemala. That's one of the best things that I could ever do with my kids. When we interviewed entrepreneurs starting these retreats, we said, what do you want to see? And they said, I want my kids to appreciate what they have. I don't know a better way than service and contribution. And that's experiential education. I could have lectured my kids about our trip to Guatemala. Instead, I'd rather them be side by side, feeding the hungry, building the schools, in the orphanage. So the third step to connecting is doing fun, inspiring activities and talking about it afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's and that's what part of the family board meeting, right? Is kind of like the reflection part.
That is the foundation of the whole family board meeting. Those meetings I have every quarter with each of my children. The dates I do with Jamie, those are the things that we do. We are always one-on-one. Our phones are off. We're doing something fun together and having deep conversation. And that's the same thing I do with my kids.
Awesome. So Jamie, how has this kind of changed your life? And then you guys have been teaching entrepreneurs all over the nation about this as well. What are some of the things you're seeing?
What are the things that I'm seeing for others or for us?
For both. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think definitely when you teach something, it very much so helps you own it, right? Yeah. So the more that you teach, the more that you become. And so I really enjoy finding new ways to do our thing. So when we're with our own family and we experience a rub or like a bottleneck situation, I think, oh, we should do a podcast on this, or, oh, we should talk about this, or, oh, we should come up with something for that. And so it's really a lot of fun we are like the test phase right here in our own home, because there's nothing that we've been through that we can't guide others through or that others aren't going to go through. We're all in the same, path, just in different places. And so it's great for us to teach and for us to also listen and learn. And so one thing, when we're helping families, we learn new perspectives, new challenges, and that's so enlightening. And it really is humbling to help guide others through this. And I do think, adding a couple of rhythms into your life, like the family board meeting, like date night, like the tech fasting, you can really get into spaces in which you become more mindful, more aware of spending this intentional time with your family. And that's really what we see, when we really quality time revolution, or, the 18 summers movement, whatever you want to call it. It's been really neat to see it kind of move in the way that it has, and that it becomes a mindset. Like, I want to enjoy my family more than others and get to enjoy their family because I'm thinking about it, because I'm intentional. And I love seeing that, and I love sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What you guys have been talking about a lot, we've talked about the family board meeting, the 3 steps to connection. You guys talk about you do of date night and being intentional, the tech fasting. If someone is not doing any of that right now and they're listening and they're like, oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot. Like, what do you suggest they start off with?
Yeah, I think, again, the great thing here is there's no perfect family. So you throw that out the window right now. Whoever created that silly saying of perfect family did a disservice to family life everywhere. It's just not true. And then you start small. The solution doesn't have to be as complicated as we've made this problem, right? Just schedule it. That's the starting point. Mm-hmm. Schedule a date. Same bat time, same bat channel. Brett, I mess things up. But I can't mess things up if date night is every night, 5:30 to 8:30, every Wednesday, 5:30 to 8:30. It's just ingrained. It doesn't move. Unless it's something really big comes up. So I can't mess it up. Schedule that half day with your kids. If you don't schedule, it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So you start with these simple principles and you say, well, yeah, but I seem so far behind. We seem so disconnected. Oh, there's just start with these things. They're a quick rebuilding. And people are like, gosh, I've been keeping the same date night for 6 weeks now. It feels like my marriage is completely different. Mm. I get it. Wow, I've gone 3 quarters in a row having a half day with each of my kids, and I feel like I'm finally under the surface. Exactly. Those aren't big steps, Brett. That just requires staying simple, scheduling it, and going all in for the things that you schedule.
Yeah, definitely. Well, where can people find out more information about the 18 Summers family board meeting? Where should they go?
18summers.com is a great place because it kind of has everything on there. And then right now we have I think it's a free download of a chapter, so you can read it and see if it's for you. And then you can either purchase the whole electronic copy, or there's a link taking you straight to Amazon. It's a quick and easy read, and we had a lot of fun.
I think I actually listened to the family board meeting on Audible. Yeah, super easy. Took a couple, maybe 2-3 hours. I don't even know, maybe less than that. So super easy, super simple. Check it out, guys. 18summers.com with Jim and Jamie. Appreciate you guys so much. Jim and Jamie, I like to end every show with a little fun. I prepared something extra fun for you guys today. It's called the Newlywed Game. All right, well, I actually asked Jim and Jamie questions before the show, and they shouldn't know each other's responses to these questions. So I'm going to ask each one what they thought the other person said with these responses. So we're going to start off with Jim. All right, so Jim, here we go. I asked Jamie these questions, and I have the answers right here. So number 1, what is one adjective that describes Jim's family? One adjective that describes Jim's family.
Part of that
adjective. Crazy came to mind, but
if it weren't an adjective, what word would you use? Because I didn't use an adjective. I missed that part.
That's all right. Jamie said, whatever.
It's whatever.
Oh, whatever. My mom said when she gets lost in thought, which happens quite often. So
all right. Number 2, what frightens you the most? So I asked Jamie, what frightens her the most?
What frightens Jamie the most?
Yes.
I would say it's definitely us to, not being the best mom, or probably not being the best mom or wife she could be.
What did you say?
I said losing my family.
Losing your family. Well,
Yeah.
and I had that, like, leaving too early, or that was my
Yeah.
I swear that was like either not being a good enough mom or leaving, losing her family.
Yeah.
Like losing her family.
Leaving, yeah.
That's good. Awesome. What is Jim's most irritating habit? So I asked Jamie, what is Jim's most irritating habit?
He has a lot.
My most irritating habit is I will remix Brett Snodgrass raps. That's a true story. So.
And she did say repeating the same line of a song over and over and over and over and over again.
It's not just your raps, Brad. It's everyone.
But actually, on the way home, while we were stuck in traffic, it was one line of yours. It was Mr. Cooper's Not a Pooper.
Love that line.
While we were in traffic, and I'm sitting there going, I'm so glad I chose that one.
That's funny. I just like whatever comes on the top of my brain. It's actually really cool to like freestyle raps because you have to think like really on this front of your brain. I don't even know where, but I don't know. I just came up with that, so I love that. All right,
gospel over here, Brett.
All right, number 4. What is the strangest gift Jim has ever bought you? What is the strangest gift Jim has ever bought you?
See, I go right to that funny looking shirt my mom bought you for Christmas. But that wasn't
God.
me. Yeah. Funniest gift I ever bought you? Wow, I'm drawing a blank here.
Oh, so did I.
She did. Yeah, she said Jim is actually a really good gift giver.
Oh,
So
really?
You buy her great gifts, Jim.
Yeah.
All right, last 3. So really fast on these. First thing that comes to your mind? What adjective describes Jim on his wedding day?
Excited.
Okay.
What'd you say?
I said serious because at our rehearsal he was like a total goofball, and I was like, "You're so silly." So on our wedding day, it was like,
No, she's like, don't be joking.
Don't be joking.
Don't be joking. I'm like, you're in your class clown, so I was like very serious.
on our wedding day, I was like,
He took it literal.
I take you because I'm like,
That's so funny. All right, who takes up more than half the bed?
Sammy.
And she said,
the kids.
The kids.
Yeah.
there you go.
He said Sammy, our son. Yes.
We get about half the night to ourselves.
Awesome. All right, last one. Who spends more time on social media?
Me.
That is true. She did say Jim. So Jimmy got like two or 3 right. All right. Jamie.
I did in school.
All right, Jamie, here we go. Ask these questions to Jim. So I asked Jim, when you first kissed Jamie, what did you think at that moment?
I'm trying to think, do I go with funny or serious? I think that he probably felt comfortable and excited.
He did. He said, it was at my house after the first concert. I felt excited, and I was already having feeling that she was the one. Wow, that must have been quite the kiss, you guys. All right.
I did make him wait for it.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, number 2. What is Jim's favorite junk food?
Chipwich?
No, if you're going to go with dessert.
Oh, peanut butter pie? Oh, wait. What? Yeah.
And then I said junk food. What kind of junk food would I eat? Like something in the...
Like a snack aisle?
What usually clogs me? I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have ate that.
Oh my God, popcorn. Yes.
Popcorn.
See, no, we didn't discuss, but I can give clues where I knew she.
Right. He did say popcorn or peanut butter pie. So
okay.
All right, number 3. What is one embarrassing thing that Jim has done around you?
God. I'm like afraid to answer this question.
We talked about public. No, I'm not giving any clues. I can't give clues.
Oh God, but then you might get embarrassed. Oh, this is hard. Gosh, you've done so many embarrassing. I mean, it always involves like passing gas or feces or like.
That is right. Passing gas in public.
Okay.
Jim does that.
That is definitely not the worst thing he's ever done.
All right, last. Let's see. We got a few more. So, who is a better singer?
Oh, probably Jim.
Yeah, he did say.
For sure, Jim.
Yes.
He overthinks, but he's way better.
All right, number 5. Who says I'm sorry first?
Probably him, usually.
Yeah.
He just says it more.
2 for 2. He did say Jim.
All
right.
Did you really?
I thought I said her. I thought I said Jamie.
He did say me. All right, let's see. A couple more. Who fell in love first?
Oh my gosh. I told him I loved him first. Actually, our son told him first, and then I told him. And when I told him, he
That's
said,
pretty forward, Jamie.
I know. It was really unlikely.
Yes, he did say. He did say it was about the same time, but he said you said it first.
Yes, perfect. I was going to say, I think we probably fell in love together, but.
All right, last 2. Which spouse has a shorter attention span?
That was an easy
Jim.
one.
Yeah, he did say Jim. All right, last one. If I asked Jim, what is your favorite thing about Jamie? What would he say?
Physical or
Overall.
oh gosh.
That was a clue. You can't say I'm a butt man or anything.
my
I know, like your questions. I mean, you work with the ones you got. Okay, so maybe just like my nurturing love or something.
Yeah. What did he say? What did you say, Jim?
Beautiful inside and out.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's
That's
sweet.
all.
He has a big heart, and that's it. You guys passed. You guys got like probably 30% right, so you got an F.
All right.
Boom. Here we go. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being on the Snodgrass podcast. Jim and Jamie Sheils, y'all. Check out 18summers.com. Thank you guys so much. It's a wrap.
Thank
See you
you.
soon,
It's
buddy.
great to see you.
Yeah, thanks
you.
again, Brett.
Thank you so much for checking out the Brett Snodgrass channel. If you like this video, please slam on that like button. And if you really like it, then subscribe to our channel here. And remember to leave us a comment below, and I'm going to try my hardest to reply to all the comments. Thank you guys so much. This is why I do what I do. Every single week, I come out with content that focuses on success, freedom, and living out your purpose. Thank you guys so much. See you next time.